Folks, here's the blunt truth. If she truly only saw you as a friend, she wouldn't be this emotionally close to you. Think about it. She leans on you. She shares her fears, her doubts, her private thoughts. She laughs with you in a way that feels intimate, not casual. There are moments where the air feels charged, where silence feels heavy instead of empty. Yet when you test the waters or pull back slightly, she suddenly hides behind the word friend. That contradiction is what's driving you crazy. Most men tell themselves a comforting lie right here. They say she's just friendly. They say they're reading too much into it. And by doing that, they ignore the real dynamic unfolding in front of them. Not rejection, but restrained attraction. Desire that hasn't decided what to do with itself yet. My friend, women don't give emotional access like this to men they feel nothing for. They also don't rush attraction when it feels risky. So they hover. They get close, then pull away. And the man who doesn't understand this panics. He overinvests. He confesses. He tries to force clarity. And that's how attraction quietly dies. I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to wake you up. In this video, you'll learn how to tell when friendship is masking desire, why women keep attraction undefined, and how your behavior determines whether she leans in or shuts down completely. Let's get into it. Number 1. She feels more than friendship. Folks, let us be clear about something most men talk themselves out of. When a woman feels more than friendship, it shows long before she ever admits it. The problem is not that the signs are invisible. The problem is that men explain them away because they are afraid of being wrong. Here is the straight truth. Friendship feels neutral. Attraction does not. When a woman is attracted, the emotional temperature changes. Conversations linger. Silence feels full instead of awkward. She remembers small details about you that have no practical value. That is not friendliness. That is emotional investment. Let me give you a real situation. John is 52, divorced, steady in his career, living in Denver. He meets Claire, 41, through a mutual friend. They start as friends. They text often. Claire shares her frustrations at work, her family stress, things she never brings up around other men. When they meet in person, she sits closer than necessary. She laughs, then holds eye contact a second too long. But every time John hints at moving things forward, she pulls back and says she values the friendship. My friend, if this were just friendship, she would not create this level of emotional closeness. She would not need to regulate distance. She would not feel the need to pull back. The push and pull is the signal. It tells you something more is present but unresolved. Another example. Robert is 58, recently retired, living in Florida. He befriends Melissa, 45, through a volunteer group. Melissa checks in on him often. She asks about his day. She shares personal stories late at night. When Robert goes quiet for a few days, she notices immediately and asks if everything is okay. Friends do not monitor emotional distance like that. Attraction does. Here is where most men go wrong. They assume that because she has not crossed a physical line, desire must not exist. That assumption is false. Many women experience attraction internally long before they act on it, especially when the man is older and the dynamic feels risky. Instead of moving fast, she stays close and observes. This is not manipulation. It is caution mixed with desire. And the man who does not understand this either panics or overinvests. He becomes overly helpful, overly available, overly patient. And by doing that, he turns attraction into comfort. Comfort without tension becomes friendship. When a woman feels more than friendship, she wants emotional closeness without losing control. She wants to feel you without committing to you yet. That tension is the space where attraction either grows or dies. Pay attention to this. She seeks you out when she is tired, stressed, or unsure. She values your presence more than your advice. She does not want solutions. She wants to feel grounded around you. That is attraction speaking quietly. The man who understands this does not rush to define things. He does not confess. He does not pressure, he stays steady. He lets the emotional closeness exist without trying to own it. That restraint keeps attraction alive. If you have experienced this dynamic and felt confused by it, write this in the comments. I see the signs. Stay with me, because the next part explains how her energy shifts the moment you walk into the room and why that matters more than anything, she says. Number 2, her energy changes around you. Folks, let us strip this down to something you can actually feel. When a woman is secretly attracted to you, her energy changes the moment you are around. Not dramatically, not theatrically, subtly, and that subtle shift is one of the clearest signals most men ignore. Here is the plain truth. Friendship feels stable and predictable. Attraction introduces charge. The room feels different. Conversations slow down. Pauses stretch. Her tone softens or sharpens in a way that feels focused. That change has nothing to do with words. It happens before she decides what to say. Most men miss this because they are listening instead of sensing. They focus on sentences, not atmosphere. But attraction does not announce itself verbally. It announces itself through presence. You can hear this in how she speaks when you arrive. Her voice becomes warmer. Her responses become more attentive. She laughs more easily, but she also listens more closely. When you leave, the energy drops back to normal. That contrast is the signal. If she were just being friendly, her emotional temperature would stay the same, no matter who is around. This is where Stoicism becomes practical. Marcus Aurelius wrote that nothing has power over the soul unless you allow it. Applied here, it means this. If you are calm and present, you notice shifts others miss. If you are anxious or outcome-focused, you miss everything. Another sign of changed energy is how silence behaves. With friends, silence feels empty. With attraction, silence feels loaded. She does not rush to fill it. She lets it hang. That pause is not awkwardness. It is awareness. Many men panic in these moments. They feel the shift, but do not trust it. They start talking more, explaining more, performing more. And that is where attraction collapses, because the energy she felt was your grounded presence, not your words. Epictetus warned that a man becomes disturbed not by events, but by his interpretation of them. When you interpret her changed energy as pressure, you react. When you interpret it as interest, you stay composed. That composure keeps the tension alive. Another overlooked detail is how she orients herself. Her body turns toward you even when she is speaking to others. Her attention returns to you naturally. She checks your reactions not for approval, but for connection. These are instinctive behaviors. She is not planning them. Her nervous system is responding to yours. Here is the critical distinction, my friend. Energy that changes only when you are present is not accidental. It is selective. Selective energy means attraction. Women do not invest emotional focus in men they feel neutral about. Neutral men blend into the background. Attractive men alter the atmosphere without trying. That is why this signal is so important. Stoicism teaches mastery of self, not control of others. When you are centered, your presence stabilizes the space around you. Seneca said that calmness is a form of strength. That strength is what she feels, not dominance, not performance. Stillness. If you try to capitalize on this energy too fast, you break it. If you try to define it too early, you scare it. The correct response is simple. Stay steady. Stay present. Let her feel what she already feels. If you have noticed this shift before and doubted yourself, write this in the comments. I feel the shift. Stay tuned, because the next part shows how this energy turns into emotional investment without a single confession. Number 3. She gets emotionally close. Folks, this is where things stop feeling casual and start feeling personal. When a woman gets emotionally close to you, it is rarely accidental. Emotional closeness is not friendship by default. It is selective, intentional, and revealing. Let us be direct. Women do not open their inner world to men they feel nothing for. They may talk, joke, and socialize with many people, but emotional access is reserved. When she chooses you as the place where she unloads stress, shares doubts, or speaks about her fears, something deeper is already in motion. Here is a situation that will feel familiar. Thomas is 54, steady, divorced, living in Minneapolis. He meets Natalie, 42, through mutual friends. Over time, Natalie begins calling him late in the evening, not to flirt openly, but to talk. She tells him about work pressure, her frustrations with dating, her uncertainty about life. She does not call other men for this. She calls Thomas. That is not coincidence. That is emotional proximity. Another example. Brian is 59, calm, reliable, living in Northern California. He becomes close with Jessica, 45, through a community group. Jessica seeks him out when she feels overwhelmed. She tells him things she says she never talks about. She feels safe with him. But when Brian assumes this means friendship only, he misses the signal. Emotional closeness is attraction, choosing a slow path. My friend, women do not risk vulnerability lightly. When she opens up, she is testing whether you can hold space without collapsing into neediness or trying to fix her. That test is deeply tied to attraction. Here is where many men fail. They confuse emotional closeness with obligation. They become overly available. They rush to comfort. They try to solve problems that were never meant to be solved. And in doing so, they shift from grounded presence to emotional labor. Attraction fades quietly right there. Emotional closeness creates tension only when it is held with restraint. When you listen without chasing, when you stay calm without rescuing, she feels seen without feeling consumed. That balance keeps desire alive. Notice how this shows up. She shares personal stories but watches your reactions carefully. She looks for steadiness, not advice. She wants to feel understood, not managed. The man who passes this moment stays present, listens deeply, and does not overstep. Another common pattern appears when she tests distance. When you pull back slightly, she notices. She checks in. That is emotional attachment revealing itself. Friends tolerate distance. Attraction negotiates it. Emotional closeness also comes with inconsistency. She may open up one day and withdraw the next. That is not manipulation. That is internal conflict. Desire is present, but caution is still active. Men who understand this do not panic. They do not demand clarity. They remain steady. That steadiness becomes the anchor that attraction leans into over time. If you have experienced this and realized it was more than friendship, write this in the comments. I see depth. Stay with me, because the next part explains why vulnerability is never accidental and what it really means when she chooses you for it. Number 4. She opens up to you. Folks, here is a truth most men misunderstand. When a woman opens up to you emotionally, she is not just being comfortable. She is testing whether you are strong enough to hold space without trying to control it or benefit from it. Opening up is exposure. Women do not expose their inner world to men they feel neutral about. They do it when attraction exists, but safety is still being evaluated. This is where many men either pass quietly or fail loudly. Here is what opening up really means. She talks about her fears, disappointments, or past wounds, not casually, not jokingly. She lets you see the unpolished parts. She watches how you respond, not with your words, but with your steadiness. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When she opens up, she is sensing the color of your inner world. Is it calm or reactive, grounded or needy, present or performative? Most men think this is the moment to prove empathy. They rush to reassure. They offer solutions. They try to rescue. That instinct feels kind, but it quietly kills attraction. She did not open up to be fixed. She opened up to be felt safely. Stoicism teaches restraint in moments of emotion. Epictetus said that strength comes from governing the inner life. When you remain composed, when you listen without urgency, you communicate emotional leadership. That leadership is deeply attractive. Opening up also creates vulnerability on her side. Vulnerability requires containment. If you lean forward too fast, you break that container. If you stay centered, you strengthen it. This is the difference between a man she trusts and a man she avoids romantically. Another hard truth. Women often open up right before attraction deepens or collapses. It is a turning point. She is asking herself whether closeness with you would feel stable or overwhelming. Your reaction answers that question. When you hold silence without discomfort, when your tone stays, even when you do not make her emotions about you, she relaxes. Desire grows in that relaxation. Seneca reminded us that calmness is mastery. Mastery creates safety. Safety allows desire. This is why opening up is never accidental. It is an invitation to see how you handle depth. If you stay grounded, attraction sharpens. If you chase intimacy, attraction withdraws. Do not confuse emotional access with ownership. Emotional access is earned moment by moment. The man who understands this does not rush. He lets trust and tension coexist. If this has happened to you before, write this in the comments. I stay grounded. Stay with me, because what comes next explains how unclear boundaries reveal desire even more clearly. And folks, if you want to master this level of emotional discipline and masculine presence, consistently consider joining the channel membership. Inside, we train these dynamics deeply and practically, without noise and without shortcuts. Number 5. Her boundaries feel sexual. Folks, this is one of the most confusing signals for men because it feels contradictory. Her boundaries are there, but they do not feel cold. They feel charged. That is the difference between disinterest and restrained attraction. Let us speak plainly. When a woman feels nothing, her boundaries are firm and neutral. There is no tension around them. When a woman is attracted but cautious, her boundaries become inconsistent. She gets close, then pulls back. She allows intimacy in one moment, then reasserts distance in the next. That fluctuation is not rejection, it is internal conflict. Here is a situation you will recognize. Stephen is 56, living in Portland, stable and calm. He becomes close with Hannah, 43, through a shared hobby group. Hannah sits close to him during conversations. She touches his arm lightly when she laughs. But when Stephen hints at spending time alone together, she suddenly says she wants to keep things appropriate. The tone is not firm, it is nervous. That boundary did not shut the door. It revealed desire struggling with restraint. Another example. Alex is 51, living in New Jersey. He has a strong emotional connection with Rachel, 39, a co-worker. Rachel texts late at night. She shares personal stories. She compliments his presence. But when the interaction starts to feel too intimate, she jokes and changes the subject. She does not leave. She adjusts. That adjustment is the signal. My friend, sexual tension, lives inside boundaries that are flexible but not broken. When a woman feels nothing, she does not need to manage distance. When she feels attraction, she becomes very aware of proximity. Physical closeness matters. Emotional closeness matters. And that awareness creates friction. Most men misread this and assume boundaries mean stop, so they retreat completely or become overly respectful. Others push and break the boundary, which destroys trust. Both reactions kill attraction. The grounded man does neither. He respects the boundary without collapsing the tension. He stays present. He does not apologize for the moment. He does not withdraw his energy. He simply continues being himself. Notice how her boundaries come with signals. Her voice softens when she sets them. She watches your reaction closely. She wants to see if you can handle restraint without resentment. That is a test of masculine control. Another real-world moment. Michael is 58, living in Arizona. He notices that when he steps back slightly, Laura, 46, moves closer emotionally. When he moves closer, she resets the boundary. That push and pull continues. Attraction is present. Fear is present. The boundary is the negotiation point. Boundaries that feel sexual are not walls. They are pressure points. They show where desire exists but has not been resolved. Men who succeed here do not chase clarity. They allow ambiguity. They remain calm, warm, and steady. That steadiness makes the boundary feel safe instead of restrictive. Over time, safety plus tension leads to movement. If you have experienced boundaries that felt charged instead of cold, write this in the comments. I sense tension. Stay with me because the next part explains how distance reveals attraction instead of killing it. Number 6. Distance makes her react. Folks, this is where most men misunderstand attraction completely. They believe distance kills interest. In reality, distance reveals it. Friendship tolerates space without emotion. Attraction negotiates space with feeling. Here is the hard truth. When a woman feels nothing, your absence barely registers. She wishes you well and carries on. When she feels attraction, your absence creates movement inside her. Curiosity appears, concern appears, questions appear. That reaction is not accidental. Distance works because attraction is active, not passive. It wants contact, but it also wants safety. When you create a little space without anger or explanation, you give her nervous system room to reveal what it is holding. Most men ruin this moment by pulling away emotionally. They become cold, silent with resentment, or they disappear to provoke a reaction. That is not strength, that is insecurity wearing strategy. Stoicism teaches a different posture. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man should act without attachment to outcomes. Applied here, distance is not a tactic. It is a byproduct of self-respect. You step back because you have a life, not because you want leverage. When distance is clean, her response tells you everything. She checks in. She asks how you are. She reopens conversations that did not need reopening. Or she subtly increases emotional warmth when you reconnect. Those are signals of attraction surfacing. Here is what distance exposes. Desire resists loss. Friendship does not. When you stop being constantly available, attraction either reaches out or fades quietly. Both outcomes give clarity. One reveals interest. The other reveals reality. Most men fear distance because they fear losing connection. That fear pushes them to over-pursue. Over-pursuit suffocates attraction. Seneca warned that clinging creates suffering. The same is true in relationships. Distance also tests your inner discipline. Can you remain calm without reassurance? Can you resist filling silence? Can you stay grounded when things feel unresolved? Women feel your emotional stability during distance more than during closeness. If you disappear emotionally, attraction feels punished. If you remain warm and steady while creating space, attraction feels invited. That distinction matters. Another Stoic truth applies here. Epictetus said that freedom comes from wanting nothing that is outside your control. When you stop needing her reaction, your presence becomes lighter. That lightness draws her back. Distance does not mean withdrawal. It means pacing. It means letting moments breathe. It means not chasing clarity when ambiguity exists. Attraction grows in that space. Here is the key distinction, my friend. Distance should never feel like a test or a punishment. It should feel natural and unforced. You are not withholding affection. You are simply not overextending yourself. That difference is felt immediately. One creates anxiety, the other creates respect. Respect is the soil where attraction either grows or fails, honestly. When you choose space without emotional drama, you allow truth to surface without pressure or performance. Distance handled with maturity protects your dignity and keeps attraction honest, without games or manipulation from either side involved. Always remember, if this resonates, write this in the comments. I respect space. Stay with me because the next part explains why undefined relationships keep desire alive. Number 7. She avoids defining you. Folks, this is one of the clearest signs of hidden attraction and also one of the most frustrating. When a woman avoids defining what you are to her, it is rarely because you mean nothing. It is usually because you mean too much, and she is not ready to confront that yet. Let us be straight about this. When a woman feels neutral about a man, she has no problem labeling him. Friend, co-worker, acquaintance, safe category. Labels create emotional order. When attraction enters, the picture labels create pressure, and pressure forces decisions she may not be ready to make. Here is a situation that plays out all the time. Andrew is 53, steady, thoughtful, living in Raleigh. He becomes close with Megan, 41, through a shared social circle. People around them start asking questions. Are you two dating? Megan laughs it off. She says they are just friends, but her behavior never lines up with that label. She texts Andrew daily. She gets uneasy when other women show interest in him. She keeps him close but undefined. If Andrew were truly just a friend, defining the relationship would feel easy. The fact that she avoids it tells you something important. Definition would force her to choose, and choosing would mean acknowledging desire, risk, and change. Another example. Paul is 59, recently divorced, living in Arizona. He grows close to Linda, 47, a woman he meets through volunteering. Their connection deepens slowly. When Paul asks casually how she describes him to others, Linda deflects. She jokes. She changes the subject. She never answers directly. Yet she continues investing time and emotional energy into him. That avoidance is not confusion. It is containment. My friend, undefined relationships are unstable by nature, and instability only exists when something meaningful is at stake. She is not avoiding definition because she does not care. She is avoiding it because defining it would collapse the tension she is still exploring. Most men handle this moment poorly. They push for clarity. They ask, "What are we?" They want relief from uncertainty. And in doing so, they force her into a decision before she is emotionally ready. Attraction does not survive being cornered. Others go the opposite direction. They accept the undefined role passively. They overfunction as friends. They become reliable, available, and predictable. That turns attraction into comfort. Comfort without tension becomes stagnation. The grounded man does neither. He does not demand definition, and he does not accept ambiguity as a permanent state. He stays steady. He continues living his life. He does not reorganize himself around her uncertainty. Notice how she behaves when definition is avoided. She monitors your reactions. She watches how you respond to the lack of labels. She is testing whether you can tolerate uncertainty without collapsing. That tolerance is attractive. Undefined status also protects her emotionally. As long as it stays unnamed, she can enjoy closeness without accountability. She can feel desire without committing to action. This is not manipulation, it is self-protection. When a woman avoids defining you, the question is not what does she want. The question is how do you carry yourself inside the ambiguity. The man who remains calm, self-directed, and warm without pressure becomes the safest place for attraction to land. If you have been kept undefined and felt the tension, write this in the comments. I hold steady. Stay with me, because the next part reveals how she manages your perception and why that matters more than labels ever will. Number 8. She watches how you're seen. Folks, this is one of the quietest signs of attraction and one of the most revealing. When a woman is secretly attracted to you, she pays close attention to how you are perceived by others. Not casually, strategically. Let us be direct. Women are deeply aware of social positioning. They notice who is respected, who is desired, and who is overlooked. When a woman feels attraction but has not acted on it yet, she starts gathering information indirectly. Not by asking you, but by watching how the world responds to you. Here is the key insight. She is not just observing you. She is observing reactions to you, how people treat you, how women respond to you, how comfortable you are being seen without performing. This tells her more than any conversation ever could. When she brings up other men, it is rarely random. She may downplay them, she may exaggerate their flaws, or she may casually mention attention she gets from others while watching your response. This is not storytelling. It is calibration. She is measuring your emotional posture. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man should not act for applause, but let his actions speak. When you do not chase validation, when you remain unaffected by social comparison, you communicate inner authority. That authority is what she is checking for. Notice how she reacts when other women show interest in you. Her tone changes, her curiosity sharpens. She asks questions she did not ask before. This is not jealousy in the dramatic sense. It is awareness of value. Attraction responds to perceived demand. Most men fail this moment by reacting. They explain, they reassure, they downplay themselves, or they try to impress. All of these responses signal insecurity, and insecurity weakens attraction instantly. Stoicism teaches that self-worth must come from within. Epictetus said that if you want to be free, you must not be dependent on the opinions of others. When you are not affected by how you are seen, you become more compelling to watch. Here is another layer. She also watches how you speak about others. Do you complain? Do you gossip? Do you seek approval by aligning yourself socially? Or do you stay neutral, grounded, and selective with your words? This tells her whether being close to you would feel stable or chaotic. When a woman is attracted, she is imagining scenarios. Being seen with you, being associated with you, being chosen by you. That imagination depends on how you hold yourself in public and private spaces. This is why attraction often intensifies when a man stops trying to manage perception. The moment you stop adjusting yourself for the room adjusts to you. She feels that shift. Seneca reminded us that a man who is content with himself needs no audience. That quiet independence is magnetic. It creates contrast. It separates you from men who perform for attention. If she watches how you are seen, it is because she is evaluating risk and reward, not consciously. Emotionally, she wants to know whether choosing you would elevate her or drain her. That calculation happens beneath words. Your job is simple. Do not play to the audience. Do not explain your worth. Do not shrink or inflate yourself. Stay composed. Stay consistent. Let perception take care of itself. If you recognize this pattern, write this in the comments. I stay unbothered. Stay with me, because the next part reveals how competition activates desire and changes her behavior instantly. Number 9. Other women trigger her. Folks, this is one of the most reliable signals of hidden attraction, and it shows up the moment other women enter the picture. When a woman feels nothing for you, competition does not register emotionally. When she feels desire she has not claimed yet, competition wakes something up inside her. Let us talk plainly. Attraction sharpens when value feels threatened. A woman who is secretly attracted to you becomes more alert the moment she sees other women noticing you. Her tone changes, her curiosity increases, her questions get more pointed. This is not insecurity. This is awareness of loss. Here is a real example. Daniel is 55, composed, living in Scottsdale. He has a close dynamic with Erin, 42, who often insists they are just friends. One evening at a social gathering, another woman engages Daniel in conversation, laughs at his jokes, and stays near him. Erin notices immediately. She interrupts more often. She touches Daniel's arm casually. She asks what he has planned for the weekend. Nothing was said directly, but the shift is unmistakable. That reaction did not come from friendship. It came from unclaimed desire being activated. Another situation. Michael is 59, living in Connecticut. He has an undefined relationship with Laura, 46. She keeps things emotionally close but avoids labels. One afternoon, Laura mentions that a mutual acquaintance asked about Michael. She watches his reaction closely. Later, when Michael mentions meeting someone new, Laura becomes distant for a day, then warmer than usual the next. That swing tells the story. Attraction does not like competition. It did not anticipate. My friend, women do not compete for men they feel neutral about. They also do not ignore competition when desire is present. What changes is not her words, but her energy. She leans in more. She checks your availability. She subtly repositions herself closer to you. Most men ruin this moment by trying to reassure her. They downplay attention from other women. They explain. They rush to make her comfortable. That instinct kills attraction because it signals you are managing her emotions instead of standing in your own value. The grounded man does not perform here. He does not provoke jealousy. He does not hide attention either. He stays calm. He remains unchanged. That stability amplifies attraction because it communicates abundance without arrogance. Another example worth noting. Kevin is 53, living in Nashville. He notices that whenever he becomes slightly less available and socially engaged elsewhere, Rachel, 40, suddenly checks in more often. She asks questions she never asked before. She pays closer attention. That is attraction responding to perceived competition. Competition reveals desire because it introduces urgency. Friendship feels secure. Attraction feels vulnerable. When other women trigger her, it means she has something to lose emotionally, even if she has not admitted it to herself. Your role in this moment is simple. Do not chase. Do not explain. Do not seek clarity. Let her reaction speak. Attraction always reveals itself under pressure. If you have noticed her behavior shift when other women enter the picture, write this in the comments. I notice patterns. Stay with me because the final part explains why most men ruin this dynamic right when attraction is finally surfacing. Number 10. Why men ruin this. Folks, this is where most men lose everything they spent weeks or months building. Not because she was never attracted, not because the timing was wrong, but because they could not sit with uncertainty without trying to control it. Here is the core mistake. Men ruin this by chasing clarity instead of maintaining presence. The moment attraction starts surfacing, confusion appears. And instead of staying grounded, most men rush to resolve the tension. They want answers. They want labels. They want reassurance. They want relief. Attraction does not survive that impulse. Let us break this down simply. When a woman is secretly attracted, she is internally negotiating. Desire is present, but so is caution. She is watching how you move when things are undefined. When you push for certainty, you force her out of curiosity and into defense. Defense shuts desire down. Most men think honesty will save them here. They confess feelings to clear the air. They believe directness is masculine, but timing matters. Confession at the wrong moment is not strength. It is emotional unloading, and attraction recoils from emotional pressure. Another way men ruin this is by over-functioning. They become too helpful, too available, too predictable. They try to earn attraction instead of allowing it to unfold. In doing so, they remove all tension. What remains feels safe but flat. Friendship replaces desire. Men also sabotage themselves by misreading restraint as rejection. When she pulls back slightly, they panic. They double text. They explain themselves. They ask what went wrong. That reaction communicates insecurity. And insecurity breaks the frame she was responding to. Here is a hard truth, my friend. Attraction requires emotional leadership. Emotional leadership means you can tolerate not knowing. It means you do not collapse when things feel unresolved. It means you trust your presence more than your words. Many men also ruin this by making her the center of their emotional world. They reorganize their time, mood, and attention around her behavior. That imbalance is felt immediately. Desire does not want to be responsible for your stability. Another common mistake is trying to do something when nothing is required. Attraction does not need constant action. Sometimes the strongest move is restraint, silence, space, continuity. When men finally sense attraction, they often speed up. They push intimacy before it is invited. They move faster than her nervous system can follow. That mismatch creates discomfort, not connection. The men who succeed do the opposite. They slow down. They stay consistent. They do not ask for permission to exist confidently. They let attraction reveal itself fully instead of interrupting it. This entire dynamic hinges on one thing: self-command. If you can manage your anxiety, your impulses, and your need for certainty, attraction has room to grow. If you cannot, it collapses under pressure. So if you are wondering why something promising suddenly went cold in the past, look inward. Not to blame yourself, but to understand the pattern. Attraction was likely there. It simply could not survive the rush to resolve it. And once you understand that, you stop ruining it before it has a chance to become real. Folks, let's bring this home. In this video, you learned how hidden attraction shows up long before it's ever spoken. You saw how energy shifts, emotional closeness deepens, boundaries feel charged, and why distance and competition reveal what words never will. Most importantly, you learned why so many men ruin these moments by rushing for clarity instead of staying grounded. This isn't about tricks or manipulation. It's about self-command, patience, and understanding how attraction actually unfolds in real life. When you stop forcing outcomes and start leading yourself, everything changes. If you want to go deeper and build this kind of masculine stability consistently, I invite you to join the channel membership. That's where we train these dynamics with clarity and discipline without noise or shortcuts. And if this content helps you see situations more clearly, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. Thank you for being here with me today. I appreciate you, and I'll see you tomorrow.